Howdy, man. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Why are you the villain? I wondered. Well, first of all,
Okay. You ever seen The Dark Knight?
yes.
Do you remember the last conversation that Jim Gordon had with Batman? The one where his kid was, he came downstairs and first off, The Dark Knight is my favorite film of all time. I will always say that that is the greatest film ever. And it's because it actually has a lot of meaning towards me, but I'll get to that in a minute. So Batman is having a conversation with Jim Gordon, and they've already realized that Harvey Dent has done some murderous stuff, and that if it ever gets out, Harvey Dent, his everything that he fought for is going to die. So Batman says, Gotham needs its true hero. And he says, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And then he goes into it. He's like, I can do those things because I'm not a hero. They blame Harvey's crimes on Batman. Batman runs away. But he has a speech with Jim before he starts running. He says, they'll hunt you. And he said, no, you'll hunt me. You'll condemn me. You'll sick the dogs on me. Because that's what needs to happen. Because sometimes truth isn't good enough. Sometimes people deserve more. Sometimes people deserve to have their faith rewarded. That particular whole setup, that last 5 or 10 minutes, has always stayed with me. When my 17-year-old son at the time reached out to me, because I hadn't heard from him in like 5 years. He reaches out to me when I was in Korea in 2017. We get to talking, and he asked me, he said, why didn't you ever come back? Which I never left, but I joined the military.
Right.
And I was away. I went to Afghanistan and stuff like that. And I told him, I said, you want me to be honest with you? He said, yeah. I said, the last time I saw you, you were mad at me. And I always believed that if hating your father, hating me, made you a better man, then I would be the villain in that. I'd have no problem with it. I said, if you, went on to cure cancer or save the life of someone or anything like that, and the first thing out of your mouth is, well, I hate my dad and my dad shouldn't, I would be okay with that. I would be the villain in that scenario. I would wear the black hat. Mm-hmm. So when I first got on the TikTok, I realized that you have a lot of people who are very educated and they will hit you with 10,000 different stats. But you also have a contingency of people who they tend to not have any hope. They're the people whose lives are affected by things. They're the people whose lives are affected by choices that powerful people make. And I decided that I was going to be the first person that was just going to say what everybody was already thinking and be damned the consequences. And it's kind of a combination of what the last 5 minutes of The Dark Knight plus what I told my son. If hating me helps a gay kid not get bullied, I'm fine. If, despising me helps a black woman achieve something because she doesn't have to worry about whether or not she has to be harmed or hurt, I have no problem with it. I'll be the villain. And that's where it came from. I decided that it is easier to be the bad guy in a situation as long as there's good done. Mm-hmm. Hate this person here because these people over here are doing good work. I'll be the loudmouth. I'll be the guy that, I get it routinely. People will, leave racist remarks in my comment section. That's fine. That's fine. Because they're not picking on a disabled kid. They're not picking on a non-binary person. They're not picking on a black woman. They're not picking on a native or an indigenous person. They're picking on me. And much like what Jim was telling his son, I can take it. I'm not a hero. I don't expect to be a hero. Now, if something I do inspires somebody to be heroic, that's fine too. You know, I'm not looking to be um this transactional person, or this person that, oh
No,
wow,
but
that,
no, but it's almost like you're like the fall guy, which you're calling the villain. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
somebody has to be, because you think
Well,
about
I
this,
mean,
age.
I think one thing about you that I connect with is because I too speak what people think,
Mhm,
because I have not, it's not like I don't have filters. I just
mhm,
decide not to use my filters because
exactly.
the place we're at now culturally, and
Hmm.
what this platform allows you to do and say, and until you get shut down for a day or two. But
Exactly.
just it's almost like you get to sharpen your wit
Hmm.
and use it as a tool for your own personal uh,
Yeah.
uh, I like it. I think it's fun to be able to test myself.
Hmm.
I think the thing about you and your son is, like, I think about my dad died when he was very young, when I was very young,
Hmm.
and we had like a strained relationship before he died, so it was a very, like, not
Yeah.
as much hate, but it was just so unresolved and so weird and such a problem
Hmm.
that, to hear you say that about, why you want to be the villain, just potentially you makes your son the better man. And I always say what I've come to finally accept in terms of getting, healing from his death at such a young age, and
Hmm.
having fought leading up to the night he died,
Hmm.
that his death made me a better person, and ultimately at the end
Yeah.
stronger, less waiting around for approval-ish kind of
Hmm.
person, whatever the end result is
Yes.
to that dynamic.
This is my gay son. It was funny because the conversation that we had that day actually lasted like a week, because we were just talking through Google Hangouts. And I asked him about his relationship, and he said, well, I'm gay and I have a boyfriend. And I said, okay. And he's like, you knew? I said, I've always known. So with that moment, there was never, again, that's that the villain mentality. Guys who walk around here now who say that they're their kid's hero. Well, that's great, but your kid's not going to be able to come out to you. With that, I wasn't so much telling my son, hey, you have to be the way I am. I've always known. I've always known. And I was, more than prepared for it. And to see how he reacted to it, like he was in tears. And I was like, what are you crying about? And he was just like, I thought you would hate me. I'm like, no, Sanjay, I could never hate you. You know, I think a lot of people, we live in a society in a time now where people are uncomfortable being hated. That's what stops them from telling the truth on anything. I call myself a social commentator. I'm not the conscious leader that'll hit you with 50,000 different stats. I'm not um Shiggy that will give you receipts. I'm the guy that talks about how society is ran today. And one of the things that I have found, not just through TikTok, but through social media in general, you have a lot of people who follow, but you very rarely see the leader of those people that follow. They call them trends. So for me, the idea of being a villain in a society isn't so much me following or leading. I'm just the guy that stands over and says, okay, y'all know there's a cliff over there, right? Everybody's walking towards this cliff. Well, you shut up. Why are you telling us about this cliff? I'm telling it to you because you're about to fall off.
Right.
You know, those people, you, me, guys like us, we tend to be the ones that get the most outrage, not because we're saying something wrong,
No.
but because we're saying it to a group of people who don't want to hear it. You know, we're all considered villains because we go against the status quo. The status quo says everybody should eat, you know, dog shit sandwiches. Yeah, everybody should have a fat dog shit sandwich. You're going to have people that are going to give you the historical inaccuracies of eating dog shit. You're going to give some people that, like, look, this guy told me I needed to eat this, and I told him not. And this is the interaction. They're always, society's always going to need people like us who we go, no,
Well,
that's
I think
dog shit.
I think the word you're looking for is truth teller. You know what I
Well,
mean?
they used to call them, like when the king had them, they were court jesters. Court jesters were the only ones that could tell the king the truth to his face.
Right.
Everybody else walked on eggshells and, oh no, the king might behead me. But then he had that one person that brought him in and made him laugh. And he made him laugh by telling them the truth.
Right.
You know, they've called John Oliver, Jon Stewart, Trevor Noah, Bill Maher. They've called them truth tellers. They've called Richard Pryor and George Carlin truth tellers.
Right.
But sometimes you don't even have like a funny ha-ha. Sometimes you just have to be, you're the advisor. You're, what do they call him in Game of Thrones? The hand of the king.
Right.
The person that, while everybody else is afraid of you, this one person stands up and says, you're doing wrong. I did an 11-part little, you know, playlist that's called the DNC Slaughter. And basically it consists of 11 videos, 3 minutes apiece, basically telling the Democratic Party, they're going to get murked come November. They are. And we cannot, I would like to say we could stop it, but it's too far gone. They spent so much political capital getting us to where we are right now. And then you have Joe Manchin going, nah. So what was all of this about? You know, we had a very tumultuous beginning to the Biden administration. January 6th happened, and then January 20th happened. Like, okay, here's the transition of power we were all talking about. But January 6th happened. These people have galvanized, these people have organized, and they're organizing around stupidity. And the Republicans are banking on them showing up in record numbers come November. But what has the Democrats given us? What?
Look, I can agree with you a million times over, but I'm making a decision. That's what this podcast is all about. This is what the next 11 months of my life is going to be about. Is that my mom survived Dachau. There's no way I'm living in a fascist state. I'm just saying that up front. That's my, like, you know, they always say in acting, even though I'm not an actor, but in acting, every good scene is the person has a secret that they're holding on to and not telling. And it's kind of like, so that's my secret. I am not living in a fascist state. So if I have to, whatever it's going to take, I feel like I at least want to know that I'm going to not only keep my side of the street clean, I'm cleaning other people's streets over the next 11 months.
My old commander is running for a congressional seat in Pennsylvania. Her name is Ashley Ehas. Now, at first, when I heard it, everybody was like, oh, remember Captain Ehas? Yeah, what about her? She's running for Congress. I was like, no, she's not. Stop it. I didn't think I would ever agree. But then I watched her video. She did a Twitter video. And it all made sense. Now, if she had the social media background or the social media following, this woman is an Oxford educated woman. And her ideas are great. But if anybody, you know, unless somebody's following her on Twitter, nobody's going to know anything about it. But imagine if she had a social media team and they talked about, this is where her opponent stands, this is what Ashley Ehas stands for, let's get out the vote.
Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to adopt states, whether it's for the down ballot race,
Mhm.
whether it's for Senate. Like I'm kind of obsessed. Well, of course, I found Marcus Flowers like 2 days after he decided to run.
Yes.
So I was like, I tracked him down. I was like, I'm like a pit bull when I want to get somebody.
Yep. Yep. I found that's the same way I found him. Somebody told me, he's like, oh, well, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene has an opponent. Well, who is he? Oh, his name is Marcus Flowers. And then I went and I saw his video. I'm Marcus Flowers, a former sergeant in the Army. I said, oh, enough for me.
Yeah.
And you're running against Marjorie Taylor Greene. Tell me what you need me to do.
Yeah, no.
And I
know. So there's a few, and it's funny because until I really looked back at some of your videos to know that you're a veteran, I think veterans are going to have a big presence in this next election cycle.
Yes.
There's 3 off the top of my head that I know, 2 that I've already interviewed, and I want to just keep them all going, because what I want to do is I want to do exactly what you're saying. Because you can adopt this person, and you can ask all of us to do a message once a week. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like, this is the network we have to create. We have to, because I don't know when you got into tech, when you jumped in, but I feel
jumped
like
in the day of the presidential election, the very day of the presidential election last year.
Okay.
And
so
the only reason I did it was because of my sister.
Leading up to the election, we were all like so freaked out. You know what I mean? There was like this hysteria on TikTok. I don't think we necessarily could, justify numbers necessarily. But when we saw that success, we all galvanized for Georgia. And I feel like TikTok was really impactful and unified in the messaging. So it's that same energy that we have to do. We have there's plenty of time to make this out. There is plenty of time.
Again, it comes down to the will. Because I know with the amount of people who are pulling to try to bring this country a little bit further to the left than where it is right now, and knowing what we're about to face, there are people who are looking at this. This is an emergency. We have got to, boots on the ground. We got to be out talking to people. I would absolutely love, if you guys are on a conference call with the DNC, sign me up. I'm there too, because I have things that, it's not just, politics have become entirely too toxic for anybody to sit out. But when you have one party that is thoroughly entrenched with madness and stupidity and QAnon and conspiracy theories, you have to balance that out with something. It might actually be time for the DNC to finally take the gloves off. And if you're going to find bipartisanship, you have to at least find something to be bipartisan about. And if you're dealing with MAGA crazy QAnon, you're not going to be able to do very much unless you have something that counteracts that.
Well, I think that's what people like you and I, these opinionator kind of truth tellers, see, they're not going to not be who they are. I have very little faith in the DNC, but I have a little hope that we can kind of siphon up some of that organization and access and media savvy, like we can do, which I've already told them that we have to do in the New Year's after the holidays, of course. We have to do, because we're big on TikTok, but the thing is, we can't do a lot of lives there because you get bounced off because of the trolls.
Exactly.
We need to do Facebook lives. We need to do YouTube lives. We need to, and they are gonna access that for us. I'm telling you now, because if they don't, they're going to have people like you and me dragging their sorry ass up and down the airwaves.
Exactly.
A bunch of losers they are.
Yeah, there is absolutely nothing wrong with having a rabid base. There isn't. But if you have a rabid base that's against progress, you have to have something that counterbalances that. Now, again, going back to my villain persona, I don't have a problem telling the Republicans, y'all are crazy. There's something wrong with you. Now, the up ballot guy who's running for governor of this, that, and the third, yeah, you're not going to say that, but I can. And it's not that I'm going to do it in a malicious way. I'm going to do it to remind people, this is what this race is about. This gentleman here, these are the plans that he has. This gentleman here stands with these people. Now, I get it. They call it dark money now, but they have super PACs that do that with television ads. Well, there's not a whole lot of people watching TV anyway. So social media is going to become a bigger battleground that I think either party understands. And the only way for the DNC to actually make gains and win these elections is they're going to need truth tellers.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to be polished. We're not going to here's my quote line. I've got this. These are no. You need somebody that's going to clear the brush so that when you do go to these places, you get a chance to talk to people who already are aware of what this guy stands for or what she stands for. You come in, you don't have to follow my lead. You don't have to follow Abe's lead. You don't have to follow any of our leads. But what you do is reinforce the things we've already talked about.
Right.
You know, I have absolutely no problem whatsoever using my platform to call out different things. Now, if a candidate from Missouri sees one of those TikToks that I'm making, he says, you know what? That makes sense. That makes sense. He can go out. Now the air is open. Now we've already established this guy ain't that guy. This guy is not going to do the conspiracy QAnon stuff. Right. We're not going to talk about CRT. Here's a guy that's going to tell you CRT is not being taught in college. It's not. But they already know because I've already said. You've already said. Other activists throughout TikTok and throughout social media have already laid the groundwork for the DNC. The only thing they have to do, now you get a chance to stand on something. What is it that you're going to stand on? Because we already know from watching social media, this is what these guys are here for. You know, I think throughout the past, the DNC has been very lax in fighting wedge issues that come up from the RNC. The RNC is the kings and queens with throwing those out.
And they're corporate hacks.
Of course. You know, they're absolutely corporate hacks. Yeah. And they know they're corporate hacks. Yeah. They don't care. That's the funny part. They know
they do, but honestly, they do care. When you'll be on, I mean, this is all what we're doing. I mean, I unfortunately am not busy with other things at the moment, but I don't care because I'm not living in a fascist country. I'm just not.
I said the same thing. I've kind of realized that I make some videos sometimes where I say that, you know, I wish Godzilla would hurry up. But to be honest with you, I love America entirely too much to watch it turn into what it's trying to turn into.
I mean, the fact that we're having half of these conversations, I mean, exactly. I think it's a blessing that we are having this conversation because everyday people are connecting on such a deep, honest level that it's like, oh my God, I have more connection to people that I have no connection to.
Exactly.
Than I have connection to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You find that common ground in there. You find common ground that way. There might be a gentleman sitting somewhere in a cornfield in Iowa right now who believes exactly what you believe and sees what you see. Your TikTok video will strike him and he'll go, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's how you get these long distance conversations happening. You know, the RNC, what the RNC likes to do is the corporate overlords or the corporate masters or whatever say something and boom, it goes all the way down to the roots. So you even have somebody's dog catcher saying the same thing that the corporate office said. The DNC has to be a lot more organic because we have, you know, polls have shown that a lot of the things that Democrats want to do are really popular with the majority of Americans, even in these red states. But they have poor communications. Yeah. You know, if you tell somebody, well, hey, how do you feel about universal health care? Oh, that's socialism. But if you break it down into little parts, isn't your wife diabetic? Yeah. How would you like to be able to not have to pay for her insulin? That's great. Didn't your kid break a bone the other day? Yeah, how would you like to be able to go to the hospital and pay $35 for the cast, the emergency room, and everything? Well, that's great, but you're building up slowly towards this is what universal healthcare looks like.
Right.
But the DNC doesn't even do that, and like you said, they
They're like,
are
it's an
they are bad.
embarrassment. It's an
Yes,
embarrassment.
they are bad. They are horrible when it comes to communication.
So many of Democrats are already disillusioned. They've already put their arm down and they've given up. And it's like, we can't let that happen. We
Yeah.
truth tellers have to remind them that they matter.
Yes.
Like we are
Yes.
going to have to dig in and make people, it's like, the thing is that why did so many people show up for Joe Biden, even though everyone was like, whatever with Joe Biden, is because they were mad enough. We were pissed.
Exactly.
We were pissed. And if we don't get people pissed, we have to keep people pissed.
Yes. This is the Howard Beale and network problem. You know,
Bingo.
Yes, literally, it's not about, okay, write this person. Okay, email this person. Where the very first thing you have to do is get mad. And like Howard said, I'm a human being, God damn it. My life has value. That network, Peter Finch's portrayal in Network, I'm like, literally, I had to stop the film and go, is this real? This is way too,
how brilliant.
Like, how did they put this on celluloid and let this go out into a theater? But Peter Finch, in his last portrayal, put down literally the best character actor, or not even a character, but personality that is perfect for 2020 and 2021. It's perfect for our political landscape. You have to say that. You can't, it goes beyond red and blue. It goes beyond Democrat and Republican. We're talking human beings' lives. We're talking a pandemic. We're talking about food. We're talking about gas prices. We're talking about minimum wage. These things affect folks every single day. And damn it, just because the other side is showing up in masks to take on the Capitol does not mean, okay, you can't fight that. You have to say to yourself,
excuse me, in Los Angeles alone on January 17th, 2017, we had 1 million people here. Okay. See? So whatever they think they are, we quadrundungle them. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
There isn't a number big enough.
Yes. But you have to get mad. You have to get people mad enough to remember.
On the same page.
Yeah, it's our democracy. It's not the oligarchs' democracy. It's not the Republicans' democracy. It's not the gun toters. It's not Donald Trump's. It's not the MAGA cults. It's our democracy. This is ours.
Yeah.
And as long as we're able, like you were saying, you are not going to live in a fascist state, and you are doing it because you remember what your grandmother taught you. I refuse to live.
Oh, it's my mother.
It's your mother.
I'm that old, honey.
Oh, look at you. My mother was born in 1936. My father was born in 1928. Both of them were born in Dillon, South Carolina. They left South Carolina because of the level of racism that they went through. When I talk about racism, I don't talk about what I don't know. I got stories from them. The separate water fountains, the riding in the back of the bus. My father was a grown man being called boy. These are the stories that I was raised with. These are the stories my brother and my sisters were raised with. When I think about going back to that, where we have to, oh no, we have to assuage these people because they have guns. I don't care. Some shit is worth dying for. And if that means that my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids live in a country that is better off because, my grandkids call me Baba. But if Baba stood up for something, even if people hated him, I don't care. We have to get mad because this is our damn democracy. And like you said, you're not going to live in a fascist state. You're not going to go back to the old racist ways. We're not going to go back to this idea that the only way to make America greater or great is to give power back to the same people that have been us for decades. I'll be damned if that's going to happen.
And religious and religious zealots.
Exactly.
No,
Exactly. We're not going back to that. We're not.
So you just have to know that this is you're part of this master plan, that we are all going to, like, little by little coagulate, like this kind of mini kind of arm of truth and speaking out. And there'll be some of us that'll be like us in anger and kind of, and then there'll be the ones that'll give the numbers and the thing and make all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
But if you look at the people that are on, that I've started to connect with, that are on the YouTube channel, this is the beginning core group. And then you'll find people you're going to want to bring in, and it's going to be a beautiful thing.
That'll work. I am there for all of it. Believe me, I am there for all of it.
I love it. So, all right. Well, this is just the beginning. This is just step one, really. Just getting on the same page. I knew you would feel this way just from watching your TikTok. Here we are.
Yes.
Here we are.
You are very awesome, Dave. Thank you so much for inviting me.
This is so much. This is going to be so much fun, and we're going to win.
Yes, we are going to. We're going to win.
Have
a good night, my friend.
You too. Be good. Happy Christmas.